in this video, we will finish the project by coding one last method that collects statistics for each of the night's tours. So I'll just call it getTourResults. And I will do a few checks using if statements and collect statistics and display them on the screen. So this method will be called only when a tour is finished, either because we reached a full tour or because no more moves are possible. So first, I simply set isEndTour to true. Again, I have to send it to true because this method will only display the results at the end of the tour. Now I am going to check if the knight happened to complete a full tour. How do I know if a full tour was completed? Well, we are tracking the number of moves for each tour. And we know that there are 64 cells in 8x8 board, so if we make 64 moves, we completed the tour. However, remember, we want to be flexible and not hard-code values directly. So instead of checking if the number of moves is 64, I will check if the number of moves equals the size of the board squared. So if it's 8x8, so I will simply multiply 8x8. If it's 10x10, I will multiply 10x10, making it 100, of course. So in my if statement, I will simply check if the move count equals the size of the board, so board.size, multiplied by board.size. And if this is true, then we completed a full tour. So we set isFullTour flag to true. Alright, so we have completed a full tour, so we can display the completed chessboard. And to do that, I will simply call the display board from the board class. Let's see, over here we will display the board, already formatted. And now we can also display a message to the user indicating this is the full tour and display the number of tours it took until we finally reached a full one. So my message simply says success. The tour number, which is from the tour count, was completed tour. So tour count will hold the latest number of the tours, so we will display that because that is our final tour that we just made. And of course, nothing else to do here, so we simply return back to the main loop, which will now exit. So let's return. We are not returning any true or false, this is void method. We simply don't need to check anything else. Now, if our tour was incomplete, we can display some statistics about it. However, we only want to display anything if the tour resulted in more moves than any other tour before it, or if it matched the number of moves for the best tour. So it's a simple if statement, and we check if the number of moves we made in this tour is equal to the last best score. In other words, our tour matched the performance of our best tour in the past. So if it was not a full tour, but the tour still ended, we'll check if the move count equals, and there's a variable that we have, which is the best score. So here, we will simply display the board. And once again, we will display a message informing the user that we matched our best score. So in this case, the message simply says no success, in meaning that the tour was not complete. The best score is still whatever the best score is, and we reached that again on this tour, so we will display what tour we are on currently. So if we did not match our best score, we can also check if we exceeded our previous tour score, meaning we actually scored better now than in any other tours before. So I'm going to do an else if statement, and here I am checking if my move count was better or greater than the best score. And once again, if it was, then this doesn't mean that it's a full tour. In fact, it's not, because if it was, our first if statement would execute and we would be returned from this method in the first place. So we know this is still an incomplete tour, but best one yet. So we can still display the board and display a message saying that this is the best score yet. So our message simply says still no success, but we're getting closer, and I'll display the best score, which is now what we have, and we reached it on the tour count. One thing I actually forgot here, since we are now having a best score, new best score, because our move counter is greater than our previous best score, before I display the board, I want to actually set my best score to equal to my move score, because we just, like I said, reached a new best score. So we checked our full tour. If it's not, we check if we matched the best score. If not, we check if we exceeded our best score. And if neither of this is true, then we do nothing. We don't need to display anything for tours that are worse than the ones before. Otherwise, we would have our screen flooded with thousands and thousands of displays of the chessboard. And that's it. Now we simply go to our do while loop in the move method, and we'll finish the loop. All we have to do is call the isMoving method. Remember, that's the method we created in the previous video, and that makes sure that we are doing our moves correctly, that we are validating them, and if available we make them, and if we reach all possible moves and cannot still move, then we know that the tour ended. So remember, that method returns Boolean, true or false. So we'll simply check if the isMoving method is false, because if it is false, it means the tour ended either as complete or incomplete one. But it basically means that the knight is not moving anymore. And once it ended, we call the getTourResults method that will do the statistics and display them if the score matched any of the conditions that we just coded. Remember, we want to call the getTourResults method and have the statistics displayed only for the tours that ended. So here, if our knight is not moving, we will call the getTourResults method. And if the knight is moving still, then this is skipped. Nothing is happening. We are still within our isMoving method, making all the 8 moves if we can, or ending the tour if we cannot. Alright, so all that's left is go to our program and create the object of the knight. You can see that I still have the previous code here that we used to check the board. I'll delete that, and instead let's create a knight object. And from here all I have to do is call the move method, from which all the logic is wired together. Okay, I'm ready to run it, are you? So let's do it. And we've finished the tour, and this is our first attempt. You can see tour number 1, and on that tour we only got 45 moves. But so the message says no success, but getting closer. Then on tour 2 and 3 we obviously got even less moves than 45, but on tour number 4 we got 55 moves. So that was our newest best. Then we got 55 moves again, and you can see that the message now says that the 55 moves were reached again, because they were reached on tour number 4, and this was on tour number 106. And you can see that all these incomplete tours have some empty spaces, some empty squares on the board. So for example, when we go down here, you can see we have 62 moves, for example, and we have 2 empty squares, because that's supposed to be 64 full squares. So with 62 moves only, we have 2 empty. Then after 62 we got a few of those, as you can see, but then we got 63. We are only 1 square missing, and we got 63 quite a few times, but then at the end, at the tour number 13,573,682, we finally completed the tour. So you can see that it took a while, and you can see that all the squares have now axes on it, so you can visually confirm that the tour completed. So it took a few tries, few iterations of the loop, but clearly our logic is working correctly, and the knight found a way around the board to make a full tour. Of course, there are other ways to do this, including much less wasteful ways. After all, we only used a brute force method, relying on random numbers and knowing that eventually the right sequence of the numbers will be generated. But the bottom line is that you got to see how to approach a logical puzzle and how to come up with an algorithm and process that takes into account some details that may easily be overlooked, and how to put it all into a code. So I hope you found this exercise helpful, and thank you for watching.